The message came at night, when most of the cubs were sleeping. Was not sleeping. The young sat near the window of the cargo bay, watching the stars move past the ship. Her silver fur caught the faint light from distant suns. Her ears, tall and pointed like a fox from old Earth stories, turned toward every small sound. She liked this time. The ship was quiet. The humans were in their rooms and could think without anyone asking if she was okay. The cargo bay had become their home. When the cubs first arrived on the research vessel Gentle Current 3 cycles ago, the humans had given them proper rooms, small spaces with beds and lights and doors that locked. But the cubs did not like being alone. They came from different worlds, different species, different families, but they all shared the same feeling. They were far from home. They were scared, and they wanted to be together. So the humans had cleared the cargo bay. They had brought blankets and cushions and soft things. They had hung lights that glowed warm like sunset. They had made it a den. Remembered how the human called had worked for 3 days to make the space perfect. He was a big man with rough hands and a quiet voice. He did not talk much, but he noticed things. He saw that the smallest cub liked to sleep in tight spaces, so built a small wooden box lined with soft cloth, just the right size for a scared little creature to curl up in. Had cried when he saw it, had looked uncomfortable and said it was nothing, but had seen him smile when he walked away. The message appeared on her personal screen with a soft chime, picked up the device and read the words slowly. Her eyes grew wide. Her ears pressed flat against her head. It was from the Galactic Education Council, from Elder himself. Had never met Elder, but every cub knew his name. He was ancient and powerful. His species, lived for thousands of cycles. They had mandibles like insects and eyes that saw in spectrums most beings could not imagine. Elder had created the exchange program that sent cubs to live with different species. He had chosen the humans for this experiment. And now he wanted a report. Read the message 3 times to make sure she understood. The council wanted to know about human behavior. They wanted threat assessments. They wanted psychological profiles. They wanted data and analysis and conclusions. They wanted the cubs to watch the humans and write down what they saw. Felt something cold settle in her stomach. She looked around the cargo bay at her sleeping friends. They was curled in a pool of water that refilled every night. His amphibian skin needed moisture and never forgot, not once in 3 cycles. Was in his wooden box, his small scaled body barely visible under the blanket that had given him. The blanket smelled like the kitchen because knew that felt safe when he could smell food cooking. There were 12 cubs in total, 12 different species, 12 children who had been sent far from their homes to learn about the galaxy, and 3 humans who took care of them all. Made a decision. She would not wake the others tonight. They needed sleep. But tomorrow they would talk. They would figure out what to do. The next morning made breakfast. He always made breakfast. The human was not tall, but he was solid and warm. His face was round and kind. He smiled easily and laughed often. And he cooked like it was the most important thing in the universe. Maybe to him it was. Watched him move around the kitchen. He had 12 different meals to prepare. 12 different species meant 12 different dietary needs. Some cubs could not eat plant matter. Some could not process certain proteins. Some needed their food alive. Some needed it fermented for days. Remembered everything. He never wrote it down. He never used a computer to track it. He just knew, because he paid attention, because he cared. He said without turning around, "You did not sleep well. I can see it in your fur." His ears twitched. "How do you know about fur?" "I read about your people when I learned you were coming." Turned and set a plate in front of her. It was her favorite meal, prepared exactly the way she liked it. "Your fur gets dull when you are tired or stressed. It is shinier when you are happy and rested." He reached out and gently touched the top of her head. His hand was warm. "Whatever is bothering you, little one, it will be okay. You can talk to me if you want, or not. Either way, eat your breakfast. 8. The food was perfect. Of course it was. After breakfast, she gathered the other cubs in the cargo bay. She showed them the message from Elder. She watched their faces change as they read it. Skin shifted from healthy blue to worried. They want us to spy on and. Not spy, said, though the word felt wrong even as she said it. Observe, report. They want to understand humans better. Why? Asked the cub named. She was covered in soft feathers that changed color with her mood. Right now they were dark purple, confused. The humans have been in the galaxy for 200 cycles. Everyone knows about humans. Everyone knows humans are dangerous, said quietly. Everyone knows they are predators. Their eyes face forward. They have teeth for tearing meat. They sweat to cool their bodies so they can chase prey until it dies of exhaustion. The cubs were silent. They had all heard these things before they came to the ship. Their parents had warned them. Their teachers had prepared them. Humans were new to the galaxy and they were scary. But that was before. Before sat with through his night terrors. Before learned to cook 12 different meals. Before built a sleeping box and cried when he thought no one was watching. Spoke up, his voice was small and soft. What do we write? Do we write that saved me from the airlock? Everyone remembered that day. A malfunction had opened an outer door. The emergency systems failed. Had been pulled toward the void of space, too small and light to fight the suction. Had been there. He had grabbed with his bare hands and held on. The metal edge of the door had cut into his arm, deep enough to see bone. But he had not let go. He had held that small cub until the door closed and the danger passed. Then he had fallen to his knees, still holding, and he had shaken. His whole body had trembled, and when came running's face had been wet with tears. He cried, said now. He was hurt and scared and he cried, but he did not let go of me. What do we write about that? Did not have an answer. She looked at the message from Elder again. He wanted threat assessments. He wanted to know if humans were dangerous. The truth was simple and complicated at the same time. Yes, humans were dangerous. Had seen crush metal with his hands. She had seen cut through bone when he prepared certain meals. She had seen move with speed that should not be possible when a cub was hurt. But that danger had never been pointed at them, not once, not ever. We have time, said finally. The council gave us 1 cycle to prepare our report. We will watch, we will think, and we will figure out how to explain what the humans are. The cubs agreed they would try. But deep in her heart already knew the truth. Some things could not be explained in a report. Some things could only be felt, and what the humans were to them was one of those things. She just did not have the words yet. The cubs tried very hard to be good observers. They really did. Gave everyone a task. Would study human pack behavior and social bonds. Would document human communication, both words and body language. Despite being the youngest, would observe human physical abilities, and herself would try to understand human emotions and motivations. They had to record their findings. They had training in scientific observation from there. They were smart cubs, chosen from thousands for this exchange program. None of that helped. On the first day, followed around the ship. The human medic was small compared to, with short black hair and quick hands. She moved through the medical bay like water, smooth and certain. She knew where everything was without looking. Tried to take notes. He wrote, subject displays territorial behavior in medical bay, knows location of all resources, possible defensive adaptation. Then noticed him watching and smiled. Perfect timing. I need to check your skin moisture levels. Come sit. Sat on the examination table. Hands were gentle as she checked his scales. She talked while she worked, asking about his home, his family, his favorite foods. She remembered that his mother was a healer too. She asked if he wanted to learn some human medicine. My grandmother taught me, said, applying a special cream to a dry patch on his arm. She was a doctor in a small village. She said the most important medicine was listening. You have to hear what the body is saying. "What is my body saying?" asked. "That you are worried about something." Looked at him with soft eyes. "Your color has been for 2 days. You used to be bright blue. Do you want to talk about it?" Almost told her about the report. The words sat on his tongue, ready to spill out, but he swallowed them back. "I am just tired," he lied. Nodded slowly. She did not push. She did not demand answers. She just finished her work and said, "When you are ready to talk, I am here, always." That night looked at his notes. He deleted the line about territorial behavior. He wrote instead, "Subject shows genuine care for cubs outside her species. No biological reason for this behavior. She gains nothing from helping us. She does it anyway." He stared at the words for a long time. Then he added, "I do not understand." Had similar problems. She spent 3 days studying how the humans talk to each other. She documented their words, their gestures, the way they stood when they spoke. Humans touched each other constantly, would pat on the shoulder when he passed, would squeeze hands when someone was sad, would ruffle the fur or feathers or scales of any cub who came near him. On's world, touch was rare. Her people communicated through color changes in their feathers. Physical contact was saved for family, and even then it was brief and formal. But the humans touched everyone, all the time, like they could not help it. Wrote pages of observations. She noted that human touch seemed to release chemicals that made them feel good. She documented the specific gestures and what they might mean. Then one night, she woke up crying from a nightmare about her. She could not remember the dream, only the feeling of being lost and alone and very far from everything she knew. Was there in minutes. She must have heard the crying through the ship's monitoring system. She came into the cargo bay in her sleeping clothes, her hair messy, her eyes half closed. "Little one, what is wrong?" Could not speak. Her feathers had gone completely white with fear. Her whole body was shaking. Did not ask more questions. She sat down on sleeping mat and opened her arms. "Come here." Had never been held like that before. On her world it would have been strange and wrong, but she was not on her world. She was on a cold ship in the empty space between stars, and she was so scared and so sad. She crawled into his arms. The human wrapped around her like a blanket, warm and soft and safe, made small sounds, gentle humming noises that had no words but somehow meant everything. Her hand stroked feathers slowly, carefully, smoothing them back into place. "I have you," whispered. "I have you, you are safe, you are not alone." They stayed like that until stopped shaking, until her feathers slowly changed from white back to their normal colors, until sleep pulled her down again, this time without dreams. In the morning, looked at all her careful notes about human communication. She deleted everything. She wrote one line, "Humans speak with their bodies. When they hold you, they are saying, 'You matter to me.'" Had the hardest job. He was supposed to study human physical abilities, their strength, their speed, their endurance, the things that made every species in the galaxy nervous about these strange predators from Earth. But was scared of loud noises and sudden movements. He jumped when doors opened. He hid when the ship made unexpected sounds. Watching the humans use their physical power was not easy for him. So came to him instead. The big engineer found in his wooden box one afternoon. The small cub had been crying again. He cried a lot. He was the youngest on the ship, barely old enough to be away from his family, and everything was too big and too strange. Sat down on the floor next to the box. He did not try to pull out. He did not tell him to stop crying. He just sat there, his large body making the floor creak. "I used to be scared of everything," said quietly. "When I was young, I was the smallest in my family. My brothers were big and loud. I was small and quiet. I hid a lot." Peeked out from his box. "You were scared." "Very scared," nodded. I was scared of the dark, scared of loud noises, scared of being alone, scared of not being alone. Everything frightened me. But you are so big now, and strong. Looked at his hands. They were rough and from years of working with machines. Yes, I grew, I got strong, but the fear did not go away just because my body changed. I had to learn to be brave, and you know what helped? Shook his head. Having someone who would sit with me when I was scared. My grandmother used to do that. She would just sit next to me until I felt better. She did not tell me to stop being afraid. She did not say I was being silly. She just stayed. Smiled down at the small cub. So I am going to stay here, as long as you need, because that is what people do for each other. Crawled out of his box and into his lap. The human's arms wrapped around him carefully, so carefully, like he was holding something precious. Your hands are very big, said. Looked at them, yes they are. They could hurt things. They could, but I do not want to hurt things. I want to fix things, build things, hold things gently. He moved his fingers slowly. These hands built your sleeping box. These hands fix the machines that keep us alive. These hands will catch you if you fall. Put his small scaled hand against palm. The size difference was enormous. His hand could wrap around his entire body. They are good hands, said softly. That night did not write a report. He drew a picture instead. He used the colored tools that had given him for when he felt sad. He drew his hands as carefully as he could. The lines were not perfect. He was very young and his motor skills were still developing. But when he looked at the drawing, he felt safe. He wrote one sentence under the picture, in the simple letters he had learned. These hands caught me when I fell. The cubs met again after 10 days of observation. They shared their findings. They looked at their notes and pictures and recordings. This is not what the council wants, said. His skin was shifting between blue and they want threat assessments. They want data. They want facts about human danger. Looked at everything they had collected. Stories of kindness, moments of gentleness, love that made no biological sense. Maybe the council is asking the wrong questions, she said slowly. Maybe the danger is not the most important thing about humans. Then what do we send them? Asked. Held up his drawing. This, we send them this. The other cubs looked at the picture of human hands, simple lines on white paper, a child's art. They will not understand, said. No, agreed. They probably will not. She took a deep breath. She thought about cooking 12 meals every morning, about holding in the dark, about sitting with until the fear went away. But maybe that is the point, she said. Maybe understanding has to start somewhere, and maybe a drawing of hands is as good a place as any. The cubs voted. It was unanimous. They would send the drawing. The deadline came on a quiet morning. The ship was moving through empty space, far from any star or planet. Outside the windows, there was only darkness and distant points of light. Woke early. She had not slept well for many nights. The weight of what they were about to do pressed on her chest like a stone. She looked around the cargo bay at her sleeping friends. 12 cubs from 12 worlds, all breathing softly in the dark. They had made their decision, but decisions are easy in the moment. Living with them is harder. She picked up her and looked at the files they had prepared. There was drawing of human hands. There were the few words written beneath it, and there was nothing else. The council had asked for hundreds of pages. They would receive one image. Walked to the communication center. The room was small and cold, filled with machines that hummed and blinked. She sat down at the transmission console and stared at the screen for a long time. Was this the right thing to do? What if the council became angry? What if they ended the exchange program? What if they decided humans were too dangerous and took the cubs away? The thought of leaving the gentle current made his chest hurt in a way she did not expect. When had this ship become home? When had these humans become family? She did not know. It had happened slowly, like the way stars moved across the sky. You do not see it happening, but one day you look up and everything is different. You are thinking very hard. Jumped at the voice. She turned to see standing in the doorway. He was wearing his kitchen clothes, already covered in flour and spices. He must have been preparing breakfast. I did not hear you come in, said. I know, smiled gently. I saw the light on and wanted to make sure you were okay. You have been worried about something for days. All the cubs have. Looked away. She could not tell him about the report. She could not explain that the council wanted to know if he was dangerous. It felt like a betrayal. But did not push. He walked over and sat down next to her, moving slowly so he would not startle her. His body was warm and he smelled like bread and cinnamon. When I was young, he said, I wanted to be a great chef, the best in the world. I studied and practiced and worked harder than anyone. I won competitions. I earned awards. Everyone said I was talented. Looked at him, were you not happy? I was proud but not happy. Eyes were far away looking at memories. I was cooking for judges and critics. I was making food to impress people, but I was not making food to help people. Do you understand the difference? I think so. One day I realized that the best meal I ever made was a simple soup for my sick grandmother. Nothing fancy, just vegetables and broth and love. She said it was the most delicious thing she had ever tasted. He laughed softly. She was probably just being kind, but it taught me something important. What? That the reason you do something matters more than what you do. I could make perfect food for strangers who did not care about me, or I could make simple food for people I loved. The second one made me happy. He turned to look at directly. His eyes were kind and serious. Whatever you are struggling with, little one, ask yourself why you are doing it. Is it for the right reasons? Does it come from a good place in your heart? If the answer is yes, then trust yourself. The rest will work out. He patted her head gently and stood up. Breakfast will be ready soon. Do not be late. Then he was gone, leaving only the smell of cinnamon behind. Sat alone in the communication room. She thought about words. She thought about why the cubs had decided to send drawing instead of a proper report. It was not because they were lazy. It was not because they did not care. It was because the drawing was true. It was the most honest thing they could send, and honesty had to be worth something. She opened the transmission file and attached the drawing. Her finger hovered over the send button. The door opened again. This time all 11 other cubs came in. They crowded into the small room, filling it with fur and feathers and scales, climbed into his lap without asking. His small body was warm against her. We should do it together, said. His skin was cycling through nervous colors, but his voice was steady. We made this decision together. We should send it together. Felt tears prick at her eyes. She had been so focused on her own fear that she forgot she was not alone. She had 11 friends who would stand with her. Thank you, she whispered. His feathers shifted to a warm gold color. Whatever happens, we faced it as a family. That matters. Looked down at the send button. Then she looked at. Do you want to do it? She asked him. It is your drawing. His eyes went wide. Really? Really? The small cub reached out with one shaking hand. His finger touched the button. The screen flashed. Transmission sent. The room was silent. 12 cubs stared at the screen, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. The machines hummed. The lights blinked. Space remained dark and cold outside the windows. That is it? Asked. It just goes out into the void. The council will receive it in a few hours, explained. Then they will decide what to do. What do we do until then? Asked. The answer came from Stomach, which growled loudly in the quiet room. Everyone laughed, and the tension broke like ice cracking in spring. We eat breakfast, said. We go on living. We trust that we did the right thing. They went to the dining hall together, had prepared a feast, as if he somehow knew they needed comfort. There were 12 different dishes, each one perfect for the cub it was meant for. There was warm bread and sweet fruit and things that smelled like home. The humans ate with them, told jokes that were not very funny but everyone laughed anyway, sat quietly and let climb on his shoulders, kept bringing more food even when everyone said they were full. It was a normal morning on the gentle current, and somehow that made it special. The response from the council came 12 hours later. Was in the cargo bay when her chimed. She looked at the message and felt her blood turn cold. Cubs of the gentle current, your submission has been received. It is not acceptable. You will report to council chambers in person to explain your failure. Transport will arrive in 3 days. The other cubs gathered around her. They read the message in silence. They are angry, said unnecessarily. What does this mean? Feathers were pale with fear. Will they punish us? Did not know. The council had never summoned cubs before. They were supposed to be observers, invisible and unimportant. But now they had drawn attention to themselves. Now they had to face the most powerful beings in the galaxy and explain why they had sent a child's drawing instead of a proper report. We tell them the truth, said quietly. Everyone looked at him. We tell them what the humans are, we make them understand. They might not listen, warned. Then we make them listen. His voice was stronger now. Taught me that being brave does not mean not being scared. It means doing the right thing even when you are scared. And talking to the council is the right thing. Looked at the youngest cub on the ship. He had changed in the cycles they had spent here. He was still small. He still cried sometimes. But there was something new in his eyes, something that looked like courage. You are right, she said. We will go to the council, we will speak the truth, and whatever happens after that, at least we tried. The cubs agreed. There was no other choice anyway. The council had commanded and they had to obey. But as prepared for the journey ahead, she found that she was not as scared as she expected to be. She had her friends. She had the truth. And somewhere in her heart, she had something else too. She had hope. Because if humans had taught her anything, it was that hope could survive even in the darkest places. You just had to hold onto it tightly and refuse to let go. Just like it held onto when the airlock opened. Just like that. The council chambers were the largest space had ever seen. The ceiling disappeared into darkness far above. The walls curved outward like the inside of a great egg, and everywhere there were eyes watching. 30 representatives from 15 species sat in a massive circle. They towered over the 12 cubs who stood in the center of the room. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had bodies made of crystal that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. One was just a cloud of gas held together by technology did not understand. And at the highest seat, looking down at them with ancient insect eyes, sat Elder. He was bigger than had imagined. His body was covered in hard plates that clicked when he moved. His mandibles were as long as her arm. His eyes, dozens of them, reflected her face back at her from 100 different angles. Cubs of the gentle current, his voice boomed through the chamber. You were given a simple task: observe the humans, write a report, share your findings with the council. He held up a piece of paper. His drawing looked very small in his massive claw. You sent us this. Murmurs rippled through the assembled representatives. Heard words like insult and failure and waste of resources. Her ears pressed flat against her head, but she forced herself to stand straight. Yes, Elder, she said. Her voice sounded tiny in the vast space. We sent the drawing. Explain. Had prepared a speech. She had practiced it during the 3 days of travel to the council chambers. She knew exactly what she wanted to say. But now, standing before these powerful beings, the words scattered like leaves in wind. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Then she felt a small hand slip into hers. Stood beside her, his scales warm against her fur. On her other side, his amphibian skin touched her arm. Behind her, she felt the presence of all 12 cubs standing together. The words came back. We tried to write a proper report, began. We observed the humans. We took notes. We studied their behavior with all the scientific methods we had been taught. And what did you find? Elder asked. We found that the methods were wrong. Silence fell over the chamber. The representatives looked at each other in confusion. Explain, Elder said again, his voice harder now. The council wanted threat assessments. You wanted to know if humans were dangerous. You wanted data about their physical abilities, their hunting instincts, their capacity for violence. Took a breath. But that is like describing an ocean by talking only about the storms. It misses everything that matters. A crystalline representative vibrated with irritation. You are saying the council's methods are flawed. You are children. What do you know of galactic research protocols? We know what we experienced, said, and that is worth something. Elder held up one massive claw to silence the murmurs. Continue. Looked at her friends. One by one they stepped forward to speak. Went first. His skin shifted through nervous colors, but his voice was clear. I was assigned to study human pack behavior. I was supposed to document their social hierarchies and territorial instincts. He paused. Instead, I learned that when I could not sleep would sit with me for hours. She would tell me stories about Earth's oceans because she knew I missed water. She did not have to do this. I am not her offspring. I am not even her species. But she cared for me like I was her own child. Stepped forward next. Her feathers rippled with emotion. I studied human communication. I documented their words and gestures and body language. I have hundreds of pages of notes. She shook her head. None of it captured what it felt like when held me after a nightmare, when she wrapped her arms around me and said I was safe. That moment taught me more about humans than any amount of observation. One by one, the cubs shared their stories. They spoke about cooking 12 different meals every day, about building a sleeping box for a scared child, about the way the humans remembered small details, noticed small fears, responded to small needs. Then stepped forward. He was the smallest being in the vast chamber. His voice barely carried to the nearest representatives, but something about his presence made everyone lean in to listen. I was supposed to study human physical abilities, he said. Their strength, their speed, the things that make them dangerous. He held up his small hand, spreading his fingers. His hands are very big. I have seen them crush metal. I have seen them bend steel. They are weapons. Everyone in this room knows that humans are weapons. The representatives nodded. This was what they expected to hear. But those hands built me a sleeping box, continued. When I was scared, he used those weapon hands to make me a safe place. And when the airlock opened and space tried to take me, he caught me with those hands. He held on even when the metal cut him to the bone. He bled for me. He cried for me. And he never let go. Looked directly at Elder. The ancient being's many eyes reflected the small cub 1,000 times. You want to know if humans are dangerous? Yes, they are. They are more dangerous than you can imagine, but their danger is not the point. He held up his drawing, the simple lines of human hands, the careful letters beneath. These hands caught me when I fell. That is the point. That is the only thing that matters. The chamber was utterly silent. Even the gaseous representative had stopped swirling. Stepped forward again. The council asked the wrong question. You wanted to know what humans can do, but the real question is what they choose to do. They choose to be gentle. They choose to care. They choose to protect cubs who are not their own, who are not even their species. She gestured at the drawing in Elder's claw. That drawing is not a failure. It is the truest thing we could send. It says more about humans than any threat assessment ever could. Elder looked at the drawing for a long time. His mandibles clicked slowly. His many eyes blinked one by one. You believe this, he said finally. It was not a question. Yes, Elder. You believe that humans are not a threat to the galaxy. Thought carefully before answering. I believe that humans are like fire. Yes, fire can burn. It can destroy, but it can also warm you when you are cold. It can light your way in the dark. It can cook your food and power your machines. She looked around the chamber at all the powerful beings watching her. The question is not whether fire is dangerous. The question is how you use it. And humans choose to use their fire to help. They choose warmth over burning. They choose light over destruction. Not all humans, one representative argued. Your species has wars, violence, cruelty. Yes, admitted, humans are capable of terrible things, but so is every species in this chamber. The conquered 3 systems in the Great Expansion. The crystal folk shattered the moons of. Every species has darkness in its history. She straightened her spine and spoke with a strength she did not know she had. What makes humans special is not that they lack darkness. It is that they fight against it. Every day they choose kindness when they could choose cruelty. Every day they choose gentleness when they could choose violence. That choice, made again and again, is the most human thing about them. The chamber was silent once more. Elder looked at the drawing, then at the cubs, then at the drawing again. "You have given us much to consider," he said finally. "The council will deliberate, you will wait." The cubs were led to an antechamber. It was small and cold, with hard benches and no windows. They sat together, pressed close for warmth. "Did we do okay?" asked quietly. Put her arm around him. "We did our best, we told the truth, the rest is not up to us." They waited for 6 hours. The time passed slowly. Cubs dozed against each other, woke, dozed again. Nobody spoke much. There was nothing left to say. When the door finally opened, his heart nearly stopped. Elder himself stood in the doorway. He was too large for the antechamber, so he bent down to look inside. In his claw, he still held his drawing. "Come," he said, "the council has reached a decision." The cubs followed him back to the main chamber. The representatives were all watching, could not read their expressions. She did not know if that was good or bad. Elder took his seat. He looked down at the 12 cubs standing small and alone in the center of the vast room. "The council has decided," he announced. Held her breath. "The human guardianship program will be expanded, significantly." Relief flooded through her body so strongly she nearly collapsed. Around her, the other cubs made sounds of joy and surprise, jumped up and down, his scales flashing with happiness. "However," Elder continued, and everyone went still, "we require something from you, a new assignment." Looked up at him. "What assignment, Elder?" Elder held up the drawing one more time. "You will teach us what this means. You will help us understand what it is to be held, to be caught, to be protected by someone who gains nothing from it." His ancient eyes fixed on her. "Many species in this galaxy have forgotten these things. You will remind them." He set the drawing down carefully, treating it like something precious. "That is your new task. Do you accept?" Looked at her friends. 11 heads nodded back at her. "Yes, Elder," she said, "we accept." For the first time, Elder made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Good, now go home, little ones. Your humans are waiting for you." Home thought, yes, that was exactly the right word. The journey back to the gentle current took 2 days. The cubs spent most of it sleeping. They had not realized how tired they were until the fear went away. The testimony before the council had taken everything they had. Now, with the decision made and the future bright, their bodies demanded rest. Stayed awake longer than the others. She sat by the window of the transport ship and watched the stars slide past. So many worlds out there, so many species, and now, because of them, more cubs would get to experience what they had experienced. More children would learn what human kindness felt like. It was a strange feeling. She was just a young, far from home, still learning about the universe. But somehow she had helped change something important. Somehow her words and the words of her friends had reached the most powerful beings in the galaxy. This drawing had reached them. She thought about that drawing. Simple lines on white paper, A child's attempt to capture something too big for words. It should not have worked. It should have been laughed at and thrown away. But it had worked, because truth has a power that fancy words do not, because sometimes a picture really is worth more than 1,000 reports. When the transport ship approached, the gentle current woke the others. They gathered at the windows to watch their home grow larger against the black of space. The ship looked small from the outside, just a metal shell floating in the void. But inside that shell were 3 humans who loved them, 3 humans who were waiting for them to come back. The docking was smooth and quick. The airlock opened with a hiss, and there, standing in the corridor, and nobody said anything for a moment. The cubs and the humans just looked at each other across the threshold. Then ran forward and threw himself at. The big engineer caught him easily, lifting him high before pulling him close. The small cub buried his face in shoulder. "I missed you," said, his voice muffled. "I missed you too," replied. His voice was rough. "We all did." Then the other cubs surged forward, and there was chaos. Everyone was hugging everyone, was laughing and crying at the same time, had his arms spread wide, trying to embrace as many cubs as possible. Hung back for a moment, watching. Her heart felt too full, like it might burst. She had studied these humans for cycles. She had observed their behavior and analyzed their actions. But this moment, this reunion, could not be studied. It could only be felt. Noticed her standing apart. The medic extracted herself from the pile of cubs and walked over. Her eyes were wet, but she was smiling. She said, "We heard what happened. We heard what you told the council." Felt her ears droop. "You heard. Elder sent us the recording, all of it." Reached out and took hands in her own. "What you said about us, about humans. I do not have words for how it made me feel." "It was just the truth," said. "The truth is not a small thing." Pulled her into a hug. "Thank you for seeing us, for understanding us, for explaining us in a way we could never explain ourselves." Hugged her back. She breathed in the smell of the medical bay that always clung to clothes. She felt the steady beat of a human heart against her cheek. "You made it easy," she whispered. "You just had to be yourselves." The next few hours were a celebration. Had been cooking since they received news that the cubs were coming home. The dining hall was filled with food, all 12 kinds plus human dishes as well. There was music playing from the ship's speakers, strange earth sounds that the cubs had learned to love. They ate and talked and laughed. The cubs told the humans about the council chambers, about Elder, about standing in front of 30 representatives and speaking the truth. The humans listened with wide eyes and proud smiles. "I cannot believe you talked to Elder," said. "He is one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Were you not terrified?" "We were," admitted. His skin was a happy blue now, the healthiest color had seen on him in days. "But we kept thinking about you, about what you would do." "What would we do?" asked. "You would be brave," said. Her feathers were warm gold. "You would do the right thing even if you were scared. You taught us that." Was quiet during most of the celebration. He sat in his lap, one large hand resting gently on the small cub's back. But when the conversation turned to this, he spoke up. "We did not teach you that," he said. "You always had it in you, we just helped you see it." Looked up at him, "Like you helped me see that your hands are good hands." His eyes grew wet, he blinked hard. "Yes, like that." Later that night, when the celebration was over and the cubs were settling into the cargo bay, found herself unable to sleep again. But this time, it was not worry that kept her awake. It was a strange feeling of completeness. She walked through the quiet ship. Her feet carried her to the observation deck, a small room at the top of the vessel with windows on all sides. She had come here many times to think. Tonight, she just wanted to look at the stars. She was surprised to find she was not alone. Sat on the bench by the main window, a cup of tea in his hands. He looked up when she entered. "Cannot sleep." "Too many feelings." She sat down next to him. Is that strange? Not at all. Big days take time to process. He offered her the tea. Want some? She took a sip. It was warm and sweet, exactly the way she liked it. Of course he knew how she liked her tea. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. When you first learned you would be taking care of alien cubs, were you scared? Was quiet for a moment. He looked out at the stars. Terrified, he admitted. 12 children from 12 different worlds. Different bodies, different needs, different languages, different everything. I had no idea if I could do it. But you did do it. You did it perfectly. He laughed softly. Not perfectly. I made mistakes every day. I burned food the first week. I used the wrong temperature for nest. I forgot that was sensitive to loud noises and scared him half to death with the cooking alarm. His ears twitched. I did not know that. You were all very kind about my failures, smiled. But that is the thing about caring for someone. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to keep trying. You have to pay attention and learn and adjust. You have to let yourself make mistakes as long as you learn from them. He turned to look at her directly. That is what love is, not being perfect, just never giving up. Thought about that. She thought about all the small moments over the past 3 cycles. All the times the humans had gotten things wrong and then tried again. All the times they had asked questions, listened to answers, changed their approach. The Council wants us to teach other species about humans, she said. They want us to help them understand what it is to be cared for. That is a big task. Yes, she looked up at him. Will you help us? His face softened. He reached out and gently touched her head, right between her ears where she liked it. Little one, I will help you with anything. Always, that is what family does. Family, the word settled into his heart like a warm stone. She had a family on her, parents and siblings and cousins who she missed every day. But she had learned something important during her time on the gentle current. Family is not just blood. Family is not just species. Family is the people who catch you when you fall. The people who cook your favorite food and hold you when you are scared and build you a safe place to sleep. Family is a choice, made every day, to love someone who gains nothing from being loved by you. The humans had chosen the cubs, and the cubs had chosen them back. That was the truth would teach the galaxy, not with threat assessments or psychological profiles, not with data or analysis or scientific observation. With stories, with examples, with drawing of human hands. The universe was full of dangerous things, knew that, but it was also full of gentle things, kind things, beautiful things. The humans had shown her that. And now she would show everyone else. She leaned against his side, letting his warmth seep into her fur. Outside the window, the stars burned bright and eternal. Somewhere out there, 12 waited for their children. Somewhere out there, Elder was planning the expansion of the guardianship program. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing, one small act of kindness at a time. But right now, in this moment, was exactly where she wanted to be. She was home, and she was held. And that was everything.